You have entered into the black hole of real estate. This is your host, Ron Wysakarski, and we're bringing you real estate industry news and some really interesting stories about what's going on in the Florida real estate market. Episode 15 is coming at you. So, the condo sales that we've been watching for the last couple of months floundered just a little bit. Well, as predicted right here, they came back with a vengeance, and the sales in June, not only were they up, they were way up. And what's exciting about that is when you compare month over month stats, May of 2020 in the Daytona Beach area, there's 79 condo sales, and it's jumped more than double to 169 just over that 30-day stretch. So not only did it exceed by double what happened last month, but when you compare back to June of 2019 when things were, non-COVID normal, it actually beat those sales too by about 5%. And if you were thinking that, hey, COVID's going to have an effect on prices, well, you're right, but not the effect as you were thinking of. Because last year, the median sales price in June was 175. And last month, May of 2020, was 200. Median sales price of June 2020, 225, a huge jump. So $25,000 jump just from last month and 50 from last year. So if you were expecting a deal, and that prices were going to take a big dive. That didn't happen. So you may want to adjust that strategy. So if you're looking to bottom feed or make lowball offers, they're probably not going to be met with open arms. So those are not the deals that are succeeding right now. We have the perfect storm of super low inventory and super low interest rates and pent-up demand. You know, what's interesting is that COVID, well, it's the reason for both sides of the equation. If people think that prices are going to change and they're going to blame it on COVID and you can't sell real estate and the market is off, well, I can also give you the opposite side of that. That COVID is probably the exact reason for pent-up demand and interest rates staying low and inventory remaining low. The fact is that it's far easier for a buyer to walk into someone else's home. And a lot of these properties are vacant and the sellers are vacating during that time if they happen to still be occupying the residence. So they're perfectly okay walking in. To them, it's like COVID never happened. They go to the grocery store, they mask up. They go to the doctor, they mask up. They go to the house, they mask up. So it's their new normal. It's not affecting the buyers at all. Now on the seller side, when is the time to get comfortable? And how do you actually accomplish that? To allow a bunch of people that you never met that have been all over looking at properties, exposed to a lot of things. How do you get comfortable letting them in your home? If you happen to be an absentee owner or living out of state, 2-3 days after they've been through there, I imagine that any effects of the virus or the contagion, if you will, is probably gone. So you're probably okay. But if you have a family or you happen to be compromised or immunocompromised in some way, that's a big threshold to cross. So the sellers are absolutely lagging behind the buyers as far as participating in this market. But for the sellers that are participating, they're striking it while the iron is hot. The fact is, I can't think of a better time to be on the market as a seller than right now. We put a property on the market on Monday. In less than 24 hours later, 7 offers, every one of them above the list price. And we're talking a $275,000 price. And it was a feeding frenzy. We ended up calling it on Tuesday night, and the owner, who was ecstatic about it, in essence, he said, look, I've got 7 offers above my asking price. We don't need to carry this out any further. Let's grab one of those. And even then, it was quite the competition amongst that. So really interesting stuff going on within our market with regard to the condo sales report. Units are up dramatically. Median sales price is up dramatically. Inventory, well, that's still down. Now, if you want to examine this first half of 2020 for condo sales, what you're going to find is the units were down from just under 800 in the first half of 2019 to one below 699, one below 700. So units are definitely down, almost by 80. But the median sales price overall is still up 6%. So there's a lot of wins overall when you compare the first half of 2019 to 2020, despite COVID, which makes me wonder, what if COVID really never did happen? Because we had record-breaking numbers in January and even February. and all this demand that we have to move to Florida and to purchase these properties, it was off for a couple of months, and now it's back with a vengeance. I just really wonder what kind of records could have been broken this year if we didn't have a COVID environment. The fact is we do have that, and we're keeping a close eye on things, but the story is going to be inventory. At what point do we suffer because there's such a low supply that buyers get frustrated and aren't able to find the property they want? They may choose, in some cases to rent if they don't own a home. They may choose not to sell. There's a couple of options for that. I think the biggest problem might be if you're finally getting comfortable to go on the market as a seller, you do have the concern your home is going to sell really fast, but then you might not be able to find something, suitable to purchase. Now what do? Do you become a renter? I mean, you're in effect homeless if you sell your house. You've got to go someplace. Do you want to position yourself into 6 or 12 months of renting when interest rates are 3% or whatever they are right now? So this inventory piece is going to be big, and it's going to be the story of 2020. The COVID is a reason for things, but COVID's a reason on both sides. If we feel numbers are off or down, it's also the reason the numbers are surging for sales and prices are up. So no matter what side of the equation you're on, you could argue that COVID is the reason for both sides of the equation. Now, I mentioned that the multiple offer situation the other night, and more we're finding that as properties come on the market, if they're priced within the market, they're getting a ton of showings. They're getting multiple offers. They're going super fast. I mean, the other day we had one winner and 6 losers, so to speak. 6 people that have been jilted. And among those, I was the listing agent. Among those, I heard stories that we missed out on 3, 4, 5, 6 offers. We keep getting outbid. And I empathize, because when you are in that situation and you've missed out on some properties that you really like and you're on your 5th or 6th option, you got to hope that the next one comes on the market is one you love so much that you'll do, pretty much whatever it takes. I don't know if that's creating a bubble or if we're just surging towards that. And I realize that there are buyers and there are people out there that think that we're creating some sort of a bubble with this pent-up demand situation right now. I don't know if that plays out. These have been steady increases over the years. The interest rates and the affordability make it so. And I believe what would change the market would be an economic event. We've had a health event. We've had other circumstances over the last few years, and we've outlasted it. About 2 years ago when they tried to raise the interest rates and they moved on dramatically, that stunted the market, and that ended quickly. And I believe that interest rates and staying low is the key driver to this growth that we have. It's the affordability index. You move the rates from 3% to 4 or 5, it's going to have some downward pressure on a couple of things. Affordability, the prices people are willing to pay, because the monthly payment may eventually outstrip what they can make a payment on. That might make a $250,000 house a $240,000 house. Would that be sustainable? Hard to say. There are so many cash buyers in this market. A lot of people came up with money from PPP programs and idle loans. There's cash everywhere. And so the business owners that have achieved those, they've gotten through what they believe is the criteria for either forgiveness of loans or getting 30-year loans that they can use in their business. They're able to provide some dividends outside of that. There's apparently a way for them to do that, but there's cash everywhere. And I'm not fully convinced that even if rates went up, and by the way, I don't think they're going up for at least the next 12 months, but if they did, there's so much cash in the market, I don't think it matters at this point. We have such a surge, a tsunami of activity in this market. It's just a dynamic that's really interesting to watch. And I think it's going to play out to some record-breaking numbers in July and August. Absolutely dramatic increases. I can see it. What happened in June is amplifying what's going to happen in July, and August might be right off the charts. It'll be interesting to see what September looks like. That's traditionally a time where sales take a slight dip as the kids are back in school. But who knows if kids are going back to school? Let's talk about that one for a minute. We've gotten all the information about schools opening up, and a lot of parents are not happy that their kids are going to be going in basically a cubicle in plastic wrap and not having an interaction, and no physical education or gym class. Can't go to the cafeteria. And you got to wonder if they're going to be in a closet, they might just as well be at home if that's going to be the effect. So what does that do? well, if we're not attending schools, it changes the way that we look at the properties we're currently living in. So we would hope that the conditions are such that the kids can go back to school in safety and interact and be around other kids. I personally believe that's a healthy thing, and that's something that we would want to get back to, I think, as a country. But in the meantime, all these policy changes, they're all having an effect on the way that people view the homes and the spaces that they're currently living in. And it's coming out in interesting ways. Once a homeowner becomes a homeowner, so to speak, and no longer a renter, there's a different dynamic. And by the way, have you looked at the rent rates? They're absolutely out of control. When you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house, and it's going for $1,800, $1,900, and that very same house, a mortgage might be $1,400, $1,500. That's $500 a month. You can go to something that could pay for a lot of BMW or a lot of school or college or just a lot of stuff. The fact is that the numbers are crazy right now. The affordability index, even though prices are up, it's still way cheaper to own than to rent. I wonder just how the rentals are working in such a way that a family can say, well, we'll invest $2,000 a month in a temporary home that is owned by somebody else. I would hope that there are more opportunities in stabilization, that more families can actually purchase their own homes. We'll see how that works out. So, the last thing we want to look at right now is the supposed foreclosure situation was coming up, and it's not happening. The government and the banks have stepped up. They've really worked on the forbearance clauses. I don't think that somebody's going to defer for 6 months and have a 6 times your payment. If you have $1,000 payment, I don't think you've got a $6,000 payment coming up in November, December. Most banks have been very proactive about undoing some of those policies to make it less punitive for a family to get back in the game and start paying their mortgage again. And the REO business is a super small part of our market. I don't see the ability for that to grow easily in the environment that when banks aren't anxious to foreclose. It's not happening. So if you were waiting for a dramatic price drop and a bunch of foreclosures, this is probably not your year. That puts you on the sidelines. So you may find a different investment vehicle if you're depending on rock bottom price and drops in real estate prices. Just not seeing it. Maybe a different strategy. Maybe if go from that to flipping or whatnot. Look at a different income strategy. Maybe focus on long-term rentals. I don't think the Airbnb crowd is happy with their return on investment this year. It's some of those anomalies that were cash rich. That's changed. We're basically a really basic fundamental market right now. There's not a lot of flipping it's happening. I mean, there's some of it, but not like it was. There's no opportunities. The prices have risen and such that there's not a lot of deals to be had for the wholesalers and the flippers. They're struggling. I mean, they're contacting us. It's like, you got any deals for us? So it's few and far between. Good news is that the market is robust and people are getting great deals on the seller side. And the buyers, they don't seem to mind. They're just happy to have a house that they really like. And the deciding factor is getting a super low interest rate. I saw rate last week in the 2s. I mean, who would think that after all this time you get an interest rate that starts with a 2? Yeah, it really changes the dynamic of affordability. The buyers are not minding paying, perhaps a little bit extra, an extra 5 or 10 grand for a house to get the right house, and that's the market that we're in. So, if you like the content that we have, click, make us a comment, drop us a line. We want to get better every week to provide you the information that's going to help you make smart real estate decisions and learn a little bit about where the market is going. And right now, it's 2 thumbs up, running fast. That's what I have for you this week. Episode 15 is in the books. We'll catch you next week on the Black Hole of Real Estate.